Welcome to Sustain This, a podcast where we discuss mindful consumption, personal style, and the quest for living a more intentional life. I'm ALYSSA, a sustainable stylist.
And I'm CHRISTINA, a shopaholic turned minimalist-ish.
And I'm SIGNE, a color consultant and slow fashion style coach.
Together, we will unpack the nuances of what it really means to be a conscious consumer and find more joy in what we have right now. So grab your tea, your coffee, or whatever floats your boat and join us in the conversation. Let's go! Yay! Yay! Welcome back. We are going to do a little Ask Us Anything today. We love doing these episodes. We love hearing from you. And this is a little bit of a sneak peek of what you can get if you join our Patreon. We do these monthly, and really joining our Patreon is the easiest and best way to engage with us directly. And that's always a fun part of getting to know you better. So we've got a couple really good questions. And of course, we will link everything down in the show notes and in the description box below. Let's get into it. Sina, you've got a bunch of questions for us.
Yeah, the first question is, how can we escape the pressure the fashion world sets us under and just enjoy an outfit? I feel like this is a really great question.
Love this question. My answer, I've mentioned this so many times, but I feel like daily gratitude practice or practicing gratitude, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like I don't like my outfit, or, I feel like shopping, so gratitude, the end. Like, it's really, it's a practice. I've only seen how practicing gratitude daily has only sort of, I don't want to use the word manifest, but I've really started to see the benefits of practicing daily gratitude only in the past maybe 2-3 years or so, and I've been practicing it for quite a lot, maybe like 4 or 5 years now. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like my concept of time is always messed up, but it takes a while. So I really think that you start to. There's a really good quote: "When you love what you have what you need," and it doesn't mean that you never want to shop, or that you never have moments of frustration in front of your closet, or that you never feel that pull of, watching a runway show and being like, that's so cool, I love this. Da, da, da. It doesn't mean any of that. It just allows you to take a more pragmatic approach and enjoy what you've already got, maybe more than not, if that makes sense. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. I think it also takes away from the mindset of always looking for what's wrong. Like, if we're speaking of once you have your actual outfit on, it's like, oh, this is too boring, or my hips are this, or this is too tight, and blah, blah, blah. But then, you get frustrated, you don't have time left, and you just wear it and you feel like something's off all day. And I feel like shifting the mindset to something that's more positive and abundant, like, what do you love about this? Or how lucky am I to have all these amazing clothes that I get to play with, instead of thinking I have a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear. It's harder. I feel like it's easier to think negatively. At least, I don't know, it is for me.
Totally,
I have to work hard to not be a pessimist. So I feel like that's a great way. And I think just like, the question specifically asked the pressure of fashion versus just enjoying your own outfit. I think that it takes a bit of ownership and self-confidence in what you have on, and just owning that.
Great point.
Yeah, definitely.
Sina?
Yeah, I feel like kind of an extension of that, Christina. I think for me, it's funny when I look at my Pinterest board, for example, I feel like I'm always like pinning the same images. Like, it's different, but it's the same. It's like, it's the same things I've been drawn to for the past 10 years. So for me, I think if I'm ever doubting myself, or if I don't know what to wear, or if I feel like I'm comparing myself to a lot of the trends that we're seeing, or a lot of like other stylish people, or even just like the young kids in our town, like sometimes I'm like, I feel like so like not fashionable. I try to remind myself of what is it actually that I love wearing, and what actually makes me feel good. Like, every time I wear this piece, I just know I feel good. And not think so much about if it's trendy or not. Just like what, or even just asking yourself, what do I need from this outfit today? How do I want to feel today? Like, okay, I want to feel I just want to be comfortable or breezy or whatever it might be, and kind of taking it back to just what you like wearing, like what never lets you down.
We often talk about looking outside for inspiration, whether it be TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, but I find for me, at least naturally, my mind either goes to, oh, I need that, or I don't have that, or why isn't my body like this, and blah, 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 like similar to what I was talking about earlier. But even like taking a break from seeking out that inspiration and just using what you have, using your own creativity, like styling outfits just all on your own without a mood board, without any of that, and just using what you bought because you liked it, because it has a functional purpose for you. I feel like we talk a lot about creativity coming through constraint. And because sometimes for me, I feel like when I don't know what to wear, I will look to my inspiration, and it's almost like a crutch sometimes. And it's a way that I actually think maybe it's inhibiting my own sense of creativity and coming out with a new outfit. Because I didn't really come up with it myself in a way, you know?
That would actually be a fun challenge or a fun video to do. Like, okay, if I had to style like 3 or 5 outfits just all on my own, based on completely other factors than seeking out direct inspiration, that would be kind of fun to see what you come up with.
Yeah.
It's like outfit
Because
building
I agree.
101.
I think you tune in. Yeah. And I think you tune into yourself in a completely different way when you take away all layers of
Of like external influence,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Totally. I love that. Cool. Next
Right,
question.
should we
Yeah.
move on to the next question? Okay, so here's another great question. Do any of you practice any circular fashion things like upcycling, renting, or recycling garments, visible mending, or similar? Yeah.
I know you do, Sina.
Yes. Yes, I definitely, like, I was actually saying to my husband the other day, because I had a pair of pants that I needed to hem, like they were too long, which is a common problem for me. Like, it's an issue for me. Every time I buy pants, they're almost pretty much always too long.
Same.
Great example of how clothing is not being made for like the individual. Anyway, I said to him, like, I don't know how people can go through life without a sewing machine or having access to a sewing machine or a tailor, or, you know, at least having the possibility to get your clothes altered, or even mended. This was more a question of like mending, but I do a lot of altering my own clothes, I will say.
I'm too scared to do that, but
Yeah, but you know, I think you're not necessarily scared to hand over the job to the professionals,
no,
right?
that's right. Yeah, I have a great tailor. I feel like I have a few things I want to go get tailored today. It's funny as you say that, because I filmed a video yesterday styling pieces I love but never wear. And one was this dress that I was like, I don't know if I like this as a dress, but maybe I can get the tailor to make it into a top and a skirt.
Love that.
I don't know. But it's like, this is kind of like my last ditch effort before I declutter it, to see if I'm like still on the fence, because it's like, oh, if I alter this, then like, can I still declutter it sustainably, whether it be like selling or passing it on, or do I leave it as the dress and just sell it right now kind of thing? But I kind of want to see what she can do.
Totally. I love
Yeah,
that.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But you've made your own clothes too, right,
Sina?
Sina?
You're like the ultimate.
Yeah.
I know.
I love sewing. I was
So cool.
I've just recently started seeing a therapist, and I was talking to her the other day, and she asked me, like, what do you like to do? Like, if you have more time to do this, what do you enjoy doing? And I think, you know, in a hectic everyday life, you sometimes forget, like, yeah, what do I actually enjoy doing? But I really enjoy sewing, not just for myself, but for my daughter as well. Like, I made her a little summer dress out of a secondhand, like a tablecloth.
Oh, wow.
And it's so cute. Like, it's a great place to start with children's clothes if you want to like learn to sew, because it's so small and it's easy, and you can easily redo it if you make mistakes. But I really enjoy sewing. I find that it's a very therapeutic process to get your mind off things.
And very slow, right? The
and
cheap
you can
versus
make it
expensive dopamine.
Yeah, exactly. And even though I often follow like a pattern, you can still, if you have basic sewing skills, or you can learn to kind of alter the pattern so that it fits your body. So I don't have to I will make the exact length of pants that I don't have to do that after buying the piece.
Right.
But yeah, I do mending as well. Like not bigger things. If it's a huge hole in a piece, I will rather hand that over to the professionals. And I think I've said this before, but you'd be surprised how much can actually be fixed.
Yeah.
And I think generally you should never discard a piece of clothing you love because it has a fault or like a little hole or whatever before you've spoken to someone who actually knows how to fix it. Because I think people, again, we made a podcast episode with the handbag clinic. You'd be surprised how much you can actually do and how much you can actually fix things. How about renting clothes? I've never done that myself. I've always been intrigued, but I've never done it myself.
I've rented evening wear, but I haven't rented like daily. I know there's companies out there that do that, and I've always wanted to do that because it's just like, what a fun way to try something totally new and possibly not even you, like not your style at all. Like how fun.
I think it's fun in theory. I feel like I've never done it myself as well. I feel like where I would do it is with the evening wear because, why spend $500-$700 on a dress potentially that you're really only going to wear once, and then it's going to end up as clutter in your closet. Like you're going to end up decluttering that. So the only thing that makes me, I have this like thing in my head with renting clothes, and this is not true. Like if you think about it logically, like I think renting clothing is probably one of the best ways that you can experiment with trends and try things on and like, experiment with your style, because there's that truism where most of us wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time. And in my head, I say to myself, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to get my cost per wear out of it. But that's such a predictive measure that sometimes it just doesn't end up happening. So I feel like renting, even though the barrier to entry, like in my head, I'm like, I want to own the piece.
Yes, I get
and it makes me feel like I'm wasting money by like borrowing an item for 2 weeks.
And then perhaps buying it later on again.
But I feel like at the same time, if you have a larger wardrobe, like what's really your behavior with your actual wardrobe? You're probably wearing it a lot less than you think. So renting might be like a fun thing to experiment with.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, especially to try out something, to see if you could get your cost per wear out of that and then maybe invest in it later as like a more fixed part of your wardrobe. But I feel like for me, I would probably only do renting for evening wear if, if I was going to a wedding, and I don't have a lot of special occasions in my life right now. So I've never I was sent some stuff I was, offered the opportunity to try something similar recently, but I haven't actually done it myself. But I'm curious.
I would feel like it would be an experiment, like just trying rental clothing and then seeing how much you actually wear it. Or the other thing I think where it would be kind of cool is like, I feel like a lot of services will rent out more luxury pieces. So if you had your eye on something, then maybe you could test it out kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And decide if you want to make the investment later. But
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take this next question because I thought it was so interesting. How did you choose tattoos, design, and location to connect with or express your identity? I don't have tattoos, so this is for both of you. I was really curious. That's why I wanted to ask it.
I have 5 tattoos. They're all pretty dainty. But they're all on my arms. I can cover them up, except the one that I have on my wrist. But I will say the one that I have on my wrist I got that when I was 18 years old. I probably wouldn't have gotten it today, but I think that's kind of the beauty with tattoos, that you get them when you move through different eras of your life, and you can kind of look back at that and be like, and almost kind of remember what state you were in, or in that kind of that period of your life. Which I think, it can either be quite fun, or it can be like, okay, I just want to have this gone. Like I want to remove it, or, and then also the design of it, I wouldn't necessarily have chosen it today. I have a lot of quotes, I have 2 quotes out of the 5 tattoos, and they're I actually don't like when people ask me what they say, because
okay.
I feel so cheesy when I have to like
Yeah.
put out there what it says and then explain like the deeper meaning behind it. So I do have like a couple of quotes where there's like a deeper meaning behind that. The shortest one I have is "turn it over," which is basically just like, okay, take your life and like make it your own kind of thing.
I
Like
love
you can
that.
have, but come from like a specific background, and it doesn't have to define you as a person for the rest of your life, basically. So I do kind of like that, but I also get a little bit shy, I think, when people ask me, like, what does it say and what does it mean? So the other tattoos I have them more because I just like them.
Great.
Like, I think they're pretty. I have a flower on my underarm here, which is not a specific flower. It's just one that I came up with together with the tattoo artist. I have a big moth above my elbow as well, which I really just love. I find it really cool. Like, I find it really cool and very beautiful. So I think in that sense, the design was, one of my style words, or my 3 style words, were soft, minimal, and cool. So I think my tattoos is kind of like a way for me to express that slightly more rebellious side of myself, and just, yeah, that's the best way I can put it. I think a tattoo is always a little bit edgy. I think it's,
I love that.
yeah. Some people love them and some people hate them, but
Yeah.
I do love a tattoo, I have to say. How about you, Christina?
Tell us.
I got a lot of mine when I was like in my early, like when I was 19, in my early 20s. My most recent one is of my dog, Chaika.
Oh yeah, that's so cute.
Who passed,
So sweet.
he passed away in 2019, and but my sister drew it, and then
That's cool.
my partner's friend tattooed it on, and I wanted it on my arm because the love of a dog is like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I
Still
really
miss him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that point, like, I have 2 pretty large tattoos on my back, and then I have one that goes around my ribs. And they're all things that have meaning to me, whether it be my Ukrainian heritage. I have a U2 lyric tattooed on my back.
Amazing. Yeah, but their lyrics are great. Can I ask
Yeah,
which one?
I mean, I have a Rolling Stones lyric as well.
What? You guys are so cool.
I am like, U2 obsessed,
I love
Bono
you too.
obsessed.
Love.
Cool.
Yes, I know. I saw your
My
U2
t-shirts.
360 tour
Yes.
graphic tee.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
that's
Yes.
right.
And then I just have a few other things like related to my Ukrainian heritage. So that's what had meaning to me. And some are big, some are small. And I have there's no logic at the time. I'm just like, oh, I just want this.
I love that.
There's no like, because some people they'll like map out tattoos and then plan them as they go, or like they'll design the whole sleeve at one time. So, but yeah, I don't plan on getting I don't have any other tattoos coming in mind that I'd like. Definitely like, this is early 20s, Christina,
Love it.
different time, different mindset.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that you both just like them. Like, I think that's the best reason to get a tattoo. Like, just like it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you don't have any, Alyssa?
No,
Are you
I'm too
planning
chicken.
on getting any?
Way
or?
too chicken. I would, if I got one, I've been thinking, the only one that I've been contemplating a lot is like getting one on my ring finger as like a little reminder. Yeah, but that's, I'm too scared.
But it's fascinating.
Too much
I do
of a
find
chicken.
tattoos quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Like it's I feel like it's kind of like with clothing choices, right? It's there's so much psychology, and it's a way to express yourself, and
Yeah, it's a cool.
And after time, it's almost like you don't even see them, like they just become part of your skin. So it's like everyone's like, oh, when you're old, are you going to hate this? I'm like, I don't even notice that I have them anymore.
Ooh, I like that. That's cool. I've never heard that before. That's amazing, because it's like part of who you are, of course. I love this.
Yeah.
So let's jump on to the next question. I would love to hear more about who you guys look for sustainable fashion inspiration and helps expand how you think about your clothes. For example, Alison Bornstein, Amy from Tibby. What are some interesting new ways those influences have expanded your approach to styling in fashion and minimalism?
Go for
I'm
it,
gonna
Alyssa.
start. I I don't I don't really look to, besides like our conversations here, I find I learn a lot. Um but I find myself not really looking at other influencers. I really like when I travel, that's where I do a lot. I just observe a lot. And then I just take it back to my closet and see how it influences the way I dress, how I feel, how I want to look in my clothes. It's really just from like the day to day, or like if I'm walking on the street or if I'm at a cafe, like that's I tend not to turn to social media for inspiration. So I know that's not really helpful. I really do like Alison Bornstein and Amy. Like I use them a lot as references, like in the community. I like the way they think because we're all, I think, quite aligned. But in terms of just inspiration and stuff, yeah, I like seeing what's out there. I find too, like, sorry, one more.
Yeah. No,
The
go ahead.
like the old school street style photography. I still think they're fantastic. I know it's old school, but like I love like the sartorialist Phil O. Like it's super out there, and the people on there are really peacocky, but it's actual like on the street. I think so. That's what I use.
Yeah, I do like to use very rarely some celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
I love Allison the way she thinks. I love Amy the way she thinks. I feel like Amy has really influenced a lot of, she's like really pushed me to get outside of my comfort zone and kind of lean into learning how to style and like learning how to use your clothing across, you know, across scenarios like play, dinner, work. And the Tibby style classes I find are really, really great because although they, you know, those style classes are a way for them to showcase their new product. So you kind of do have to be careful, and their product is beautiful. So it's like, oh, I want that. But if you can separate yourself from that, a lot of the principles are really, really great. And so, you know, things like big, slim skin, using that as proportions, the color wheel, and like how to combine colors and why certain color combinations might feel more sharp versus some feeling more calm and muted. And I really took a lot away from basically the non-basic basics. So like basics that are a little bit, I want to say a little bit fucked up, like a little bit, something with a little bit of a twist. So like, and I really like that because before I discovered that those are really helpful things to look for in your wardrobe, especially if you have all of your basics and your bases covered. It's learning to look at things, because I think, I mean, you alluded to it earlier, Sina, like how you kind of pin the same outfits over and over. I feel like for me personally, I kind of shop for the same things over and over. So if I'm going to be doing that, then I don't want all of the same in my wardrobe. So I feel like she really taught me to look for texture and look for silhouettes and shapes and sculpture and shine in pieces, to not make it feel so flat, because that's how I was feeling for a long time in my closet. And I just thought that, you know, buying this like crazy neon bright piece would be the answer. And that's just going like way too far over. So yeah, I love Tibby. I love the team at Tibby. I love Amy. And just like her style philosophy. But the other thing I kind of rarely like is a little bit of like kind of paparazzi celebrity street style. Like I really like Dakota Johnson style. Jennifer Lawrence, her and her like Row era is really fun. I love a good Olsen twin moment. So those are still like a lot of inspirations that I take, but you got to be careful with that too, because sometimes you just want to be the carbon copy and it's not going to work. So it's like, that's when you get into shop your closet, using it as an inspiration. So I take what you need and leave what you don't, kind of thing. And again, I do think that also like when you take that inspiration, or take the principles that you learn and then apply it to your own wardrobe and your own style, then that's when you can really kind of apply it and make it your own. And that's the more important piece, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Those are good points. Sina?
I mean, I get inspired by Allison because I like the ways that she kind of reminds, because I feel like we're working in a similar way as she is, the three of us, and I feel like she kind of reminds me and puts it into words in a way that I couldn't have come up with myself, which is why I really love her, especially her TikTok. I think is genius. But I feel like the more extensive like styling, I don't want to call it a revelation, but for myself, like the biggest difference was actually when I took my style coach certificate.
Cool.
Because I was at a point in my life, that was back in 2020. And I was at a point in my life where I really wanted to be able to offer more extensive like styling content for people. But I also wanted to be able to help people more one-on-one. And I only had my own experience up until that point. And I really wanted something more. I mean, your own experience can be good, but I hadn't worked with styling for that long. Again, only from my own point of view. And I wanted to be able to help people who had a different body and a different, closet and a different style than myself. So that when I took the style coach certificate, I really learned, basic ways of styling. But it was really good. Like, I feel like it was money and time well spent, from my perspective. And I still use a lot of those tools I learned then. And I feel like you can definitely learn a lot of similar tools by looking at short form content. But I feel like sometimes taking a more extensive course or going to like a class or like a speech even, or reading a book with more extensive guidance is a really helpful way to take control over your own, like really own your own way of styling and really tune into what tools you can use to your advantage. Because we talk a lot about short form content and how it can kind of trigger you sometimes, and sometimes it's like really hard to keep up, and then you forget, and then you save it, and it's like, but I can't.
Yeah, and you
really
never look at it ever again.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like you need to kind of learn these things in a more extensive and focused way. So I can definitely recommend, like, if it's not a book, then maybe going to a speech or maybe taking a little class or course or something like that, so that you learn all the basics and so that you can continue using them more focused. Yeah.
So smart.
Okay, we'll jump to the final question, which is, what fashion trend are you not into at the moment? Or if there are any.
The boat shoe trend.
Ooh, good one.
We're recording this in the summer. So one thing I have noticed, I made a post about this, is how I feel like there's trends that we see online and then there's trends that we see in the real world.
I saw you do this, yeah.
I almost feel like the real world is a little bit more slow. I feel like it also does. From that post, there were a lot of comments. It does depend on where you live, because if you live in like Brooklyn, New York, then all the girlies are going to be wearing all the trends, all the white skirts, the mesh ballet flats, the tulip skirts, like all of that kind of stuff. So it really does depend. But one thing that I've seen, because, on TikTok and on the short form content, you'll see a lot of people creating, what's trendy right now and trend predictions. And the boat shoe is one that has come up, I think, because Miu Miu has done that. But it's one that I haven't really seen online or in the real world. So I don't know if it's a trend that hasn't caught on. But either way, I am not a fan. Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing those in your closet also. So I guess I kind of get
yeah. It's like a little preppy in heritage. I don't know. But I also feel like I wore them back in like grade 7 and 8 when they were first cool. But at that time, we didn't know how to wear. We never wore socks with them, and a lot of these shoes were like made of total plastic, so you would get that stinky, like the stinky sweaty foot, and it was awful.
Yeah. Kind of like with the flats.
Yeah.
If it was like a really bad material. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Oh my God. So it just brings me back to a time that I don't want to go back to.
Yeah. Alyssa, maybe we should do you
in case I drop
your computer dies.
I don't know that I have one. I have to agree. Boat shoes, yes. Yeah, I don't know that I have a specific trend that I'm really not into, to be honest. So yeah, I don't really have an answer. I mean, I know people are still wearing Crocs out, which is like, maybe I'm just not cool, but I don't like the silhouette or the proportion they give to outfits. Like, I just don't love like a kind of a goofy looking shoe.
Goofy.
I mean, sorry, is that a horrible
But it
thing?
makes sense. Like, knowing both of your style words, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah,
You would never.
right? Like, it's
I
yeah. Like, it doesn't even have a point of view. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just really old school and not cool. But that's me.
but I think also just a great example of how you're being faithful and loyal to your style words.
Good shoes.
You don't have to buy it. I mean, yeah, and they're crazy comfortable. Like, my husband has a pair for like gardening.
Right.
Like,
I would wear them gardening. Like fully. Fully for like boating or gardening or whatever. Wear the Crocs. But like to go out for dinner or for lunch, like
the race ones.
Oh,
with
100%.
Oh, no.
I've seen like people on TV shows wear them.
yeah.
The raced ones with a little extra height.
Yes.
Like,
I just don't love the silhouette. I guess to me it's more about the silhouette. And I love a chunky silhouette on bottom, like a cool sneaker or like cool boot. I can't.
Yeah. I think it's really important to just underline the fact that we're not.
Yes. If you're wearing them, that's
wear
cool.
them. If you love them, that's
1,000%.
I
No
love
You were
shade.
just saying, like, you were like, oh, this definitely does not align with your three words and your style and your aesthetic. So obviously you wouldn't like them. And I think that just goes to show how some trends are for you and some are not. And that's, when you know yourself and know your style, then you can kind of filter that out.
Yes, 100%.
Or even your own critical sense. Because I was just about to say that I love the mesh shoe. Christina, I know that you really love them too. I do. I
really
could
like
totally envision them in your wardrobe. But I think for me, it's like, I probably wouldn't buy them. And that's just my critical, like, what will happen with the mesh in time sort of thing. Or,
Yes, that's why I'm not buying them. Yeah.
What
like
if
the netted
a little
one
hole?
specifically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's, again, going back to one of the first questions I always ask myself, like, is this going to be something I can maintain for more than one season?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love them, the Alaya ones, but also those are like $1,100. And I'm just like, I don't get how this string is going to, because your toes will lift when you're walking and whatever. Yeah. It looks
the
great.
mesh sneakers, have you ever had a pair of like mesh trainers where in time they will actually start getting like a little hole in the mesh? The same thing would probably happen to those, right?
That's happening with my running shoes right now, actually.
Yeah.
To replace them. Yeah. So, yeah, I think they look great. I think they're a really cute kind of like wrong shoe theory shoe. But I did see a TikTok where Andrea Chong, she's like I think that's how you say her last name. She's a great TikToker where she'll go and like kind of rate clothing and assess like what's high quality and what's not. So she was making a TikTok about some alternatives to that style that would last longer and kind of what to look for. So if I were to buy into that trend, I'd probably go off of something that she talked about, which is instead of the netting where it looks like a fishnet, it's almost like a window screen kind of material.
Oh yeah, the more dense kind of.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've seen those too. Yeah.
So I guess there's like different ways to buy into that kind of quality, but at the end of the day, it's like a trend that once it becomes untrendy, are you still going to wear it? So that's the important
because
thing to think
it's
about.
so big right now. Everyone like, I feel like that's what I'm seeing a lot of like fashionable women that I follow on Instagram, and I love it. But yeah, it's like it's so full on right now that.
Almost want to like wait a year or two.
Yeah. Will you be like just as tired of it as you are into it right now? That's always the question, which is hard to answer when it comes to trends. But I think, again, if you want to be mindful, because you can wear trends, we've talked about this before, you don't have to skip trends altogether. You can definitely use it as inspiration to either shop your closet or maybe even expand your style or like experiment a bit more with your style. And yeah, always like bringing it back to your style words or being more mindful about, is this actually a fit for me, or is it just
Yeah.
something I'm loving because I'm seeing it all over right now?
It also makes me wonder really quickly, like if there's a trend that you do feel like aligns with your style and that you really feel like you'll get a lot of wear out of it, but it's something like the mesh flat, like is this when you buy into the dupe because you know it's not going to be something that lasts, or do you buy the real thing? I don't want to say I hate, but I really don't like to buy the dupe. But at the same time, it's like, is that a scenario when you buy like the cheaper item to wear a little bit because you know it's something that just like inherently isn't going to last? I don't know.
Yeah, I think some people probably would.
Yeah. Well, that's what like the advice that some people give. Like if you want to experiment with a trend, buy like the cheaper item and see if it fits and then invest. But at the same time, I'm like, then you're buying it twice, or if it's then it's not going to last. I don't know.
Both that, but also I feel like that's the way the fast fashion industry is kind of built.
You're right.
So it's like,
I think those are some really great points, especially the like, is this the point where you buy the dupe? I loved these questions. I think we all did. Thank you so much for asking us those questions, for participating. Don't forget, if you like this kind of thing, us answering questions and engaging directly with you, do check out our Patreon. That is where all of the good, juicy stuff happens. We will link it in the show notes. Don't forget to hit subscribe or give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube, and we will see you in the next one. Ciao.
Bye.
thank you so much for joining in our conversation this week. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple and leave us a rating and review. It's one of the best ways to support the Sustain This podcast at zero cost to you.
We're also a community-led podcast, so if you have any questions for us, topic requests, or even guests you want to hear from, please send us a DM on Instagram at sustainthis_podcast. We read all of our comments and look forward to hearing from you.
We hope you join us again next Tuesday, where we'll talk about so much more than clothes. Ciao!